What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here with a mailbag. I put out a post on our community tab just a couple days ago, so if you're ever wondering, hey, how can I be on a future mailbag? Very simple. Just subscribe and comment your question below the post. First question comes in from Anthony Cox. If the coaching staff isn't settled on the right tackle, two ways, right and right, do we try and trade for Andre Dillard from the Eagles? They've been trying to trade him for a while. Appreciate the question, Anthony, because this is a subject that I've talked about in length on the show, that I'm not sold on this right tackle, we'll call it duct tape job, that's been done over this offseason. Now, if you compare Billy Turner, who's currently slated to start at right tackle, against Andre Dillard from their PFF grades, Pro Football Focus in 2021, it's pretty clear who the better player is, right? It's not by a wide margin. It's Andre Dillard. He ranked 45th out of all qualifying tackles, while Billy Turner ranked 50th. Now, much bigger sample size for Billy Turner. He missed 4 games down the stretch with a knee injury, while Andre Dillard, he was just the wrong place at the wrong time. He's not a bad player, okay? If you don't know much about him, he was a first-round pick out of Washington State. The issue is the Eagles have 2 starting tackles, and they don't need Andre Dillard. They just don't have a role for him. So Billy Turner, let's go back in the time machine for a second. He was released by Green Bay back in March after he failed a physical. So he's coming back to Denver, and he's got some ties already, right? His OC with the Broncos was his offensive line coach in Green Bay, Justin Uden. And then you've got, of course, Nathaniel Hackett, who was the offensive coordinator for Green Bay. That is now the head coach for the Broncos. But he has not participated at Broncos OTAs. So that knee injury is still lingering. And I'm just getting a little bit concerned because I know it's weird because it's not new completely to him. He started his career off in Denver. He knows the head coach and the offensive coordinator from his time in Green Bay. But it's still different, right? It's a different playbook. It's a different team. It's a different quarterback. So I am not opposed to making a trade for a tackle. I'll leave it up to you, though. Be the GM for me. Would you trade for a tackle? Knowing it costs something to give up. Y for yes or N for no. Aaron Cashman has our next question. What rookie do you think has the highest ceiling for the Broncos? Great question, Aaron, because this rookie draft class was not filled with impact players. And that's what happens when you don't pick until number 64. But I love looking at names, so let's refresh our memory here of the Broncos draft picks from 2022. Bonitto, Greg Dulcich, who's probably been the biggest star so far of all the rookies. Damarri Mathis, EU out of Iowa State. Delarrin Turner-Yell, that guy is just an absolute bowling ball. Then you move on to later day 3 picks. Montrell Washington, Luke Wattenberg, Matt Henningsen, and Faion Hicks. So if I had to go with which one has the highest ceiling, I'll go with Greg Dulcich because he has the least competition above him, right? Nik Bonitto has to compete with Randy Gregory, Bradley Chubb, and Malik Reed. Dulcich has to go up against Allo. You see what I'm saying here? Now, if I wanted to go maybe a sleeper pick, what about, I don't know, how about Montrell Washington? Because of what he can offer you on special teams. That was the whole reason this guy was picked, was what he did at Samford. 5 return touchdowns, 1 from a kickoff, 4 punt returns brought back to the house in his career with the Bulldogs. So that would be my sleeper pick of someone who's got a super high ceiling, but you can't bank on special teams working out immediately in your rookie year because special teams is always kind of a bit of a crapshoot. But what rookie would you go with, right? You want to ride with me and Greg Dulcich? Nik Bonitto, let's be honest, will probably get a decent amount of playing time because you haven't seen Chubb play a full slate of games since his rookie year. And you've never seen Randy Gregory do it. So I'm guessing at some point, Bonitto's going to get a chance to start. Let me know down below. Next question comes in from my favorite hotel in Boston, Nolan Tipton. Do you think the new owner will give Russ his new contract? And if so, how soon do you think this will happen? Also, do you think year one of Russ being here that he could bring us to the playoffs? I'm not blind. I'm just having a little too much Bud Light. Coors Mountains of Blue. See, I can't remember what kind of beer I'm having. Let me answer the second question first because I've got the first question loaded up. But do I think Russ can go to the playoffs? Yeah, I don't think that's out of bounds. As for a contract, I do think it's coming soon. This is my projected contract. 5-year, $250 million with an average salary of $50 million. Remember two things. The cap goes up every year. And let's be honest, inflation's a bitch. So it's going to cost a little bit more than maybe it once did. Guaranteed money-wise, that's the interesting nugget I put. I only haven't guaranteed 185. Deshaun Watson got 100% of his contract guaranteed, 230. Will other GMs now follow suit because they have to? Because that's just going to be a leverage tactic that Russell Wilson's agent uses? We'll see. But I don't think he gets it all guaranteed. I'll go with 185. Now, if you are ready to watch Russell Wilson absolutely dominate the chefs and destroy the faders, hit that big red button and subscribe because Broncos country. Let's ride. That was the most cringiest thing I've ever seen Russell Wilson do, and he does a lot of cringy things, but he's really good at football. This next question comes in from Just Me. Way too early draft comment, but what players can you see us as a good fit in next year's draft for the Broncos? Just Me, two things. One, it is way too early, but on the other side of the coin, it's never too early to start talking about the draft. I am a draft junkie. So let's remind ourselves what picks the Broncos currently have. This could change with comp picks from free agency and whatnot, but as of now, they're slated to have just a slim 5 picks. They don't have the Rams' first or the Rams' second or third round pick this year. They just have their own third round pick. They do have the Colts' third round pick. Remember, they moved back in the draft. They got a third round pick for the Colts, 4th, 5th, and a 7th. If I had to speculate, I would say their biggest needs in 2023. It's hard to do because we don't know how this year's going to go, but I'll say tackle. They're going to want a long-term answer at right tackle. I'll say defensive line, right? Outside of DJ Jones, no one's a guarantee on that D-line for a foreseeable future. And I'll go interior offensive line. I don't see Glasgow and Reisner being on this roster next season. So one of them needs to be replaced. And if Cushenberry has a bad year, then Belly's going to go to center, and now you got to fill a guard spot. So here are 5 draft prospects. Now keep in mind, one, it's very difficult to predict who's going to go in the 3rd round of next year's draft. But the Broncos don't have a top pick. So I'm not looking at the top tackles and guards and edges because they probably won't be in that vicinity. But lists always change. I mean, Spencer Rattler was supposed to be the first quarterback taken in this year's draft. Ouch. What about Wanya Morris, though? Tackle, started his career off at Tennessee, transferred to Oklahoma. Good athleticism from him. Broderick Jones, if you went to Georgia, you're getting drafted. It's just that simple. Tyler Beach out of Wisconsin. There's something about Big Ten offensive linemen that just hits differently. What about Xavier Thomas, though, out of Clemson? This is a player who's entering his 5th year, if I remember correctly. So he's been a bit of an EU, right? He's kind of bounced around the line a little bit, so maybe the Broncos want to take that similar approach. Or they can go young. Lucas Van Ness, who's entering his 3rd year after redshirting his first season up at Iowa City. He had 7.5 sacks last year in year number 1, so really broke out in his first season. He might opt to go to the draft after just 2 seasons of playing. Question coming in from a longtime watcher, Jacob Youngblood. Now that the Broncos have a new owner, when will he write a new stadium or build a new stadium? Also, will he pay for most of it or make the taxpayers pay for some of the stadium? Let's go back in time a little bit because Empire Field at Mile High is only 20 years old, 21 years old. When it was built, it cost $400 million, and 75% of that bill was paid by the taxpayers. Now, Rob Walton is the richest owner in the NFL right now in his group. Remember, he's not just alone in this. But people don't stay rich by spending a lot of money, right? We all know this. They like to have other people spend money. So I would not expect him to be this angel from above and say, don't worry about it, taxpayers of Colorado. I'm going to cover the whole bill. Just doesn't seem all that likely. Joe Ellis was asked about this not long ago, about a new stadium. Here's what he said. It's estimated at $2 billion, and the estimates never come in. And you've got all these environmental inputs with inflation and supply chain issues, raw materials. So this is going to cost quite a bit more than $2 billion. Stan Kroenke, if I remember correctly, footed the whole bill himself for the Rams? Something like that. I don't recall the California taxpayers having to pay much of it. So maybe Walton goes a similar approach, but fuck, probably $3 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot more than 75% of $400 million. But if you want a new stadium, because let's be honest, for being a 20-year-old stadium, I bet if you did some sports trivia with your friends, you had to rank stadiums and how old they were, they probably would think that stadium's a little bit older. It just doesn't have a wow factor to it. So type me if you want a new stadium. This question comes in from my longtime watcher of the channel, Xavier Solaro. Do you think Russell Wilson and Courtland Sutton will be one of the best duos together in the NFL? I'm going to pump the brakes just a moment on saying Russell Wilson and X is a top wide receiver duo in the NFL, because look at this list here. Like, honestly, is he better than Stafford and Cooper Kupp? No. You got Triple Crown winner and a Super Bowl winner right there. Super Bowl MVP, too, in Kupp. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase? No. We haven't seen it yet. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. The only new combo I put on there is Fresno State reunion, Devontae Adams and Derek Carr. Obviously, Russell Wilson's a better quarterback than Carr, Cousins. We could have arguments about Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, and Matthew Stafford. I'd take him over Stafford, but the age factor is another element to this. But I just don't think he has to prove it first. And also, he's got a lot of mouths to feed, right? Between Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, it's not going to be a 1-2 like it is for some of these other teams. He's got a couple other players he's got to keep in mind. I appreciate everyone that clicked on today's show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Hope you're having a good weekend, and I'll see you guys later with more Broncos news and rumors.